Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and today we have the new German battlecruiser Prinz Rupprecht in port to review for you guys today. With the release of the 10.9 patch or update, we have these ships now in early access, these German battle cruisers. And there's a couple cool things with how they've changed up the early access event that we'll talk about in a minute. But before we get much further, huge shout out to the patrons. Their names should be popping up on screen about here. Without their support, this review would not be possible. As many of you know, I am not a CC. I get zero support from Wargaming. So all reviews are funded via ad revenue from the channel and from donations from these generous patrons. If you want to support the channel, it's the best place to do so, besides of course just watching the videos and streams. So head on over to the Patreon if you wish to do that. Link is in the description down below. Anyway, so the Prinz Rupprecht, unlike the previous early access events which have caused so much drama for being, well, crappy events if you want to get your hands on these ships early, they have changed this one in more than a few ways. First off, the Prinz Rupprecht right here is not available in random bundles like the Johann de Witt or so many previous early access events. You have to get her in the sequential bundles the same way you would get the rest of the tech line if you want to get them in early access. But what's really cool, especially since this was an issue so many still had with the Soviet CV event, gone are the random bundles. Now, if you wish to buy your way through the event, rather than just playing through the event and getting the tokens to get the ships in early access, you have these, I don't know what these are even called, I guess token bundles that are available to purchase. There's 30 of each set. They all have the exact same thing in them. So, for example, in the ships of Lower Saxony, you get 50 German tokens, 2 Hydra flags, 2 Scylla flags, and then 2 of the black, white, red camos. That's in every bundle. There's no guesswork about it. This is what you are buying for 500 dubs. And you can buy as many of these as you want up to the limit, which is 30. After that, you have to move on to the next set, which is, well, the same thing, except there's different special signal flags in there. So if you want to buy your way through the event, there's no more guesswork about it. You can do the math, see how many you have to buy, and go ahead and do that. Or you can play through the event, get the tokens, and get your hands on the ships that you can get your hands on. I would personally recommend that you don't do any of that besides just playing the game, and if you get enough tokens to get a ship or two, cool. These ships are techline ships. They're going to be available completely for free in an update or two. But I like the changes. It takes the gambling completely out of it. I appreciate that, Wargaming. Keep it up. Don't let this be the one good time that you do this and then slip back into your old ways. Anyway, the Rupprecht. So, I haven't played her yet. Beyond reading what they've done to her on the dev blog, I don't know much about this ship. So today we're going to look at her quirks and features, go over her stats, and I'll let you guys know how she plays after taking her into battle for a couple hours. So let's go ahead and look at her stats right now. First off, actually before that, I really like this model. It's really, really gorgeous. I really like the way this ship looks. It's, I don't know, it's like meaty and imposing, and it kind of looks like something I'd build in Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts, actually, with the way some of these secondaries are positioned. But anyway, so let's take a look at her. Her armor, her nose is 27 millimeters, so you can bounce 15 inch easily. And then you have a 30 millimeter belt right there. Then you've got 150 millimeter upper armor, 220 millimeter upper belt armor, then 300 millimeter torpedo protection, and then that wraps around almost completely around the stern with this 100 millimeter slat right there. Not completely wrap around though, with a 27 millimeter gap right there. Stern armor is 27 millimeter. Mid deck armor is 32. Same up here, and then 27 millimeter upper deck armor over here. I'm sorry, upper bow armor over here. So let's take a look at her citadel. It is, oh, it's actually really skinny in the front. Look at that. It is just below the waterline, barely. Probably not a very hard ship to citadel, and there is no turtle back. All right. So I kind of like the way they're doing the battle cruisers. You know, they're still battleships. They have battleship hit pools, but the armor is thinner. But they still have, in some cases, they still have a strip that, you can kind of bounce some of the larger shells that you're going to be seeing at your tier. But they are, of course, more maneuverable and quicker in the trade-off. So what's her hit points? 59,200 hit points. Oh, actually, do I have the proper hull on? I do not. Whoopsies, I keep forgetting that this is a Techline ship. Okay, did that change the armor at all? No, the armor layout is still the same. Okay, cool. So now she has 63,900 hit points, 23% torpedo damage reduction. For her guns, she has 8 406mm guns with a 30-second base reload time, 30-second 180 time, 206 meters maximum dispersion, 38% chance of causing a fire per HE shell, and a maximum HE shell damage of 4,800. And her AP has a maximum damage of 11,500, maximum range of 18.8 kilometers, not the longest range ship. And both the AP and the HE shells have an initial velocity of 810 meters a second. Secondary, she has 10 by 2 of these 105s. They have a 3.4 second reload time base, 5% chance starting a fire, 1200 maximum HE shell damage. They can pin 26 millimeters. With a maximum range of 8 kilometers base and a 900 meters a second velocity. Her 150s, she has 12 of these casemate 150s with a 7.5 second reload time, 1700 maximum HE shell damage, 8% chance starting a fire, and 38 millimeters of pin, and a maximum range of 8 kilometers and a velocity of 875 meters a second. Torpedoes! She has 4x4, so 16 torps total. Of these, what are they? 533 millimeter torps, 180 time at 7.2 seconds, 140 second reload time, range of 12 kilometers, maximum damage 16,533, 50 knot speed, and they're detectable for 1.2 kilometers. These are German torpedoes, so I fully expect them to be knocked out the very second I need them. Oh yeah, she has depth charges. I was going to say airstrike. What the heck? What is this Dutch nonsense? But then I remembered. Oh no, it's the depth charges. AA rating of 72. Actually, I'm surprised it has this much of an A rating for what is a World War I era battleship, battle cruiser design. Well, when was this designed? Never mind, 1944. I take back what I say. I thought it was a World War I era design. All right, so 72. That's still not the best. So you've got 48 of these 30 millimeter guns, these Flak 30s, and the Flak 38s, and then the 105s are dual purpose. All right. Maneuverability maximum speed 32 knots base. That's without the speed flag. Turning circle of 840 meters and a rotor shift time of 15.4 seconds. Concealment 15.1 kilometers base. All right. All right. I'm going to go ahead and module and kit her out. No awards or guests for what I'm about to put on this ship. And actually, let's go look at her equipment and such. I forgot about that. So she does get the Soviet damage con. She gets 4 charges base. They have an action time of 10 seconds. They reload in 40 seconds. And then you get 3 heals that heal 319 HP a second. And you get Hydro, no spotter or fighter. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and put a build on here and reconvene with you guys here in a moment. Alrighty, she has been moduled and kitted out. So no surprise, I'm going with the secondary build, of course. So we went with Auxiliary Armaments Mod 1 to keep those secondaries in the fight. Damage Con 1 because fires are terrible. Secondary Battery Mod 1 to get that DPM down and that range up. Damage Con Mod 2 because fires still suck. Concealment because being able to run away is a very nice thing. And then Auxiliary Armaments Mod 2 because more secondaries. This, of course, decreases the reload time even more. And no awards for guessing what I put on here. Got Lucians, of course, with my normal secondary build. Suburban maintenance because getting our turrets knocked out are terrible. And this might keep the torpedo tubes alive long enough to do something. MLG turrets because in a pinch we need those turrets to swing around, especially in a brawl. Adrenaline Rush because the ship's going to lose health anyway. Might as well get something for it. Of course, I think that everyone puts this on everything. It's pretty much a must-take skill. Of course, long-range secondaries to get the range out more. And manual secondary battery aiming because you get that boost after time, of course. Close quarters combat, because that decreases our reload time when we're in a tight pinch, especially when the ships are within a secondary range. That's how it works. And then emergency repair expert for an additional heal and damage con. Now, of course, a whole lot are going to say, hey, shouldn't you take IFHE? Where do they even move IFHE to? Oh, here it is right here. Sure, you could take IFHE to get that threshold up on your secondaries, that penetration threshold. But I normally go for a fire build with my secondaries because, one, it gets the enemy to use their damage con, and two, the shells aim for the middle part of the ship. So especially at higher tier now, there's quite a few battleships that aren't just all 32 millimeters anymore. So when you're engaging them, starting fires is of course pretty darn good, because fires don't care about armor. And against cruisers too, yes, of course, if you get over 32, then especially being a tier 9 battleship, you can rip and tear through most of those cruisers' armor. But still, fires work just the same on cruisers, although for a little bit shorter, of course. But overall, especially on a ship that has 16-inch guns at tier 9, we really need that fire chance in our main battery once we get into a situation where we have to shoot at a bow-in battleship. So I'd rather preserve that fire chance than cut that down to, let's see, we were at 38, so we'd cut it down to freaking like, 18-19% on our main battery guns, and you got so many secondaries on here, you'll be setting many a fire. Alright, so what has it done now to the ship? So the guns now have a 24-second 180 time, and the secondaries now have a 12-kilometer range at tier 9. Like I just said, the 105s, that gets it down to a 2.3-second reload time, and the 150s down to a 5.1-second reload time. That's pretty nutty there. And again, out at 12 kilometers. Consumables now down to 13.6, which is actually quite good for a German battleship. Speed is now up to 33.6 knots with the speed flag. Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead, jump in battle with the Rupprecht, and meet you guys there for my voiceover review. Hey guys, voiceover Mountbatten here. So the Prinz Rupprecht. Yeah, this thing's pretty darn good. Now, you're watching the first battle I had in it, which is by far the highest damage battle that I had in this ship. It's probably the most entertaining one, too. So, how does this thing do in modern World of Warships? Well, it's kind of in the same boat as the Colombo, or, well, the entirety of the Italian battleship line, in that if you can get into that close range engagement, God help whatever it is that you're closing in on. Because, oh my God, this is beautiful. If the whole line is like this, which I'm pretty sure it is, because the Moltke feels exactly the same way. That's the tier 4 that they gave out for all Twitch Prime members a few weeks ago. Then I think we have quite the line here, boys. It's very satisfying to play. It is probably the best line for close-in engagement, except for the main German battleship line. And they did a really good job of creating a line that does the same thing that the main line does, but with a little bit of a twist on it. So what is that twist? Well, first off, the ships themselves are nowhere near as tanky as the German battleships. You'll see throughout this video, I get hit from, of course, an angle where if I was in something like the FDG, or of course the other mainline German battleships, the shells probably would have ricocheted, or bounced, or shattered, or would have done near as the same amount of damage as you take here with these ships. They're still pretty tanky though, but of course not like the mainline. So you can't afford to go after a ship in a one-on-one engagement, and you'll probably come out on top. But under multiple ships at the same time, as you'll see happen later on in this video, you'll see that the health quickly begins to whittle away. So there is that. But they feel really, really, really good in terms of maneuverability. They're a lot quicker than the mainline German battleships. The rudder responds much faster, of course, and that's a very, very, very much nice piece of equipment to have in your toolkit when you're going in for a close-in engagement. So maneuverability and the armor of this ship, they get pretty good marks. It feels like a battle cruiser. Battle cruisers are that blur between battleships and large cruisers, although this 16-inch guns, you could argue it's a battleship, but for what a battle cruiser is supposed to be, it feels like it. They've done a very good job of making a ship line that feels like a battle cruiser. I mentioned this too when the Constellation came out. So again, good job there with the feel of the ship. So performance in game, the main battery guns, are they German inaccurate? Kind of, sort of. You'll see in this match I had here, and this match was one of the matches where I had more consistent dispersion. They don't fly all over the place like the Germans used to do before they gave them the American battleship dispersion. I was expecting like Bismarck and Tirpitz level dispersion from the Rupprecht here, but you don't really get that. You get pretty darn good dispersion. I've played 4 games in the Rupprecht so far, and it seems to be the same story in those games. Now, in this match, I had a little bit better than average compared to the other 3 matches dispersion with the guns here, but they feel definitely good. A lot better than I remember the FDG and the Bismarck and Tirpitz being back when I grinded through the Bismarck and FDG before the buff to the dispersion, and back when I played the Tirpitz before the dispersion, when you had the shells that would go nowhere near the target at all. But they feel really, really good, especially for a German ship. And I did have to throw a lot of HE around this match because, again, you have 16-inch guns at tier 9, and when you get a ship like and I'm not sure what part of the replay you're watching here, but there's more than a few situations where they're angled enough to where you simply can't pin their armor, like a Soviet battleship or a bow in any tier 9 ship and above that has 32 millimeters of bow armor. You gotta load HE and throw HE in their face, and the shells landed, it felt like, more times than they didn't, and fires were started, and when I had to use the AP, the guns delivered, and they found their marks quite reliably. They hit the target. I'm not saying Citadel every shot, but they hit the target, which is more than what you normally get with a German mainline battleship. So the guns feel good. And plus, 30-second reload on 8 16-inch guns, I was worried about that at first, but it really became a non-issue. Plus, as adrenaline rush kicks in, who cares? You're going to have a freaking 25-second reload on these guns because of the way that the ship's going to take damage once you get into the fray. Speaking of Adrenaline Rush, take a look at the new HUD, shiny new HUD. I really like it. It lets you know what commander skills are active when they're inactive, and it's very informative, very clean looking. I do believe there's a way you can get the timer number to pop up on the fire indicator there. So good clean HUD. I really like the new HUD, the HUD rework. Okay, so the guns feel very good. The secondaries, what about the secondaries? So in this match, by the time this match is over with, I got a grand total of 405 secondary hits. So without IFHE on those secondaries, I did 105,000 damage from the secondaries. Whew, that's a lot, especially without IFHE. Now, a good amount of that is, of course, because of the fires that the secondaries hit, but 60,000 damage from that 105,000 damage mark is from just pins. Now, granted, this is tier 9, and I was shooting at a fair few DDs for a good chunk of the match, and then a couple of cruisers too there, but for non-IFHE secondaries, that's freaking very, very, very good. So, of course, with IFHE, when I had the Musashi under the gun, might have been a couple instances where it could have pinned a bit more. So sure, might have been a little bit higher in terms of the pin damage, but then you're going to lose that fire chance, of course, because IFHE cuts your fire chance in half there. So the secondaries on this thing are awesome. The firing angles are really, really, really good. Again, you'll see that throughout the match. There's a couple of points where I'm pretty steeply angled to a couple of ships, and there's still secondaries flying out all over the place. Speaking of firing angles, the number 4 turret on the Rupprecht canned 360, which is freaking amazing in a ship that is this maneuverable. It's so nice to be able to swing the ship around, as hard as I need to dodge shots or angle my armor to the best of my abilities, and that number 4 turret is still on target or about to come up on target. Now, number 3 can't do that, sad panda, but having that fourth turret be there is great. So good fire angles actually from the ship. Now, are they ultra amazing? No, they're still pretty German, especially for the number 3 turret. But I never found myself in a situation where I was annoyed that I couldn't get my guns on target like you can find yourself in a lot of times with like GK and FDG. So as far as the firepower on the ship goes, it's excellent. 16-inch German AP is it can slap. It can and it does slap. All right, the torpedoes. Throughout the night, I didn't really use them too much. I kind of forgot they were there, but you have 12-kilometer torps. So if they're in your main battery range, they're in your torp range. And you'll see me try to use them here later on in this clip where, ships in my secondary range is kind of coming toward me. I'm trying to kite them, so I'm throwing some torps here and there, trying to predict the ship's movements. But, I got a couple of torpedo hits throughout the night doing this. I didn't get in a situation where I got a drive-by where I could use the torpedoes, but of course they're fantastic in that. I said that multiple times. And this is, I believe, the first full German battleship tech tree that most of the ships have torpedoes on them. That's, no other battleship tech tree has that except for the Germans with the Gneiss now at tier 7. So they're very useful. Airstrikes, I actually didn't run across any submarines. I saw them in the queue, but I had 4 matches in a row without any subs. But I didn't get to use that. But it's, I think it's just the standard tier 9 airstrike. You get 2 planes in the squadron. They drop 6 bombs each, and you get 2 charges. But I didn't run across any subs, so I didn't really get to use it. AA, not the best AA. Had a couple of CV games. When you're with other ships, you have enough AA to annoy the CV, but definitely not enough to stick out on your own. And plus, you don't have DFA or anything to boost that, so yeah. Maneuverability, we already talked about this. The ship is very maneuverable. It's very nice to have a ship that can rock and roll at 33 knots with the speed flag. And again, it's very maneuverable. The rudder shift time is very good. 15-second space. You can build into that if you want to. You have a really maneuverable battleships here. Concealment, 13.6 kilometer concealment, the current build I'm running. You can build into that. Now, this is something you could do. You could take, what skill is it? The main battery booster for when they close quarters combat. You could take close quarters combat off of my build and slap the concealment expert build on commander skill on here, and your firing range for your secondaries and your concealment range would pretty much be the same. So literally, when you pop up on a target, you're there in your secondary range. So you could do that. I like the main battery really boosted because it gives the guns that bit more of an oomph in a fight because you can get your shells out that much quicker. I know it's only 10%, but hey, in a brawl, seconds matter. So I might pop that on later on, sometime when I'm playing this line down the road and see how it works. I'm sure it would be, freaking hilarious. Just pop up on a ship and you're already within your secondary range. So overall, the Rupprecht, it's a fun ship. This is looking like it's going to be a very fun line. I mean, you can get pretty much all of the ships now in the early access event, but you do have to pay for them. Again, I would advise against that. Just wait a patch or two. These ships are going to come out completely free to research. And if you're a regular viewer of this channel for a long time, you guys know I'm definitely a German battleship main. And this is a fantastic line in my opinion. Very fun. They did a very good job of giving the battle cruisers a different feel from the mainline ships, while still pretty much doing the same thing and fulfilling the same close quarters combat brawler, although the mainline is again much tankier. So if you want to do like those epic like 1v3s, sometimes you can pull off the mainlines for that. But as far as like one-on-one combat, these ships will tear apart any ships that get within their secondary range and stay there for any duration. With the speed and maneuverability, you can kind of dictate the terms of that engagement too. It looks like it's going to be a ton of fun. I can't wait for the Schlieffen to come out in the next patch or two. No, I'm not going to throw my money at the auction event and try to get the Schlieffen. I can't even imagine what the price is going to be on there. But yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to wait for it to come out, and it looks like it's going to be a fun line. Overall, my rating of the ship, this is a ship that I'd recommend you guys check out. This is a line that I do recommend you guys grind once it comes out fully in a patch or two. It's looking like it's going to be a lot of fun. The ship's just a ball of fun, especially for those of you that like to engage in close quarters combat, which again is probably a good chunk of you that watch this channel. So guys, that's my thoughts on the Rupprecht and the line in general, from filling it out from the Moltke all the way up to the Rupprecht. It feels like it's going to be a fun line, and I can't wait for the full line to release and the Schlieffen to get out here so I can try her out. Alright guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 30,000 subs. Just passed 29,000 subs the other day, and I cannot thank you guys enough for that. Hope you're having a wonderful Thursday. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.